At my nephew's birthday party, my sister handed me a cake and said, "You're the reason our family fell apart." She smiled like it was a joke, but it wasn't. Her voice was low, soft enough that no one else would hear, but sharp enough to cut through me. I stood there, frozen, holding the cake. The sound of kids laughing faded behind me. Music kept playing, but it felt distant, like it didn't belong in the same world as her words. For a moment, I didn't know if I should laugh it off or say something, but I saw it in her eyes. She meant every word. That fake smile was just a cover. My hands started shaking, but I forced myself to stay calm. I walked slowly to the table and placed the cake down. My heart was beating hard. I looked around. People were smiling, talking, eating. No one saw what just happened. No one noticed that the room had turned cold for me. I stepped outside for air. The sun was still shining, but everything felt darker. Her words kept repeating in my head. We hadn't talked properly in years, just small, polite hellos. But this was different. This was her finally letting the mask slip, and it hurt more than I expected. I thought I had moved on. I thought time had healed the damage between us. I was wrong. She didn't need to say more. That one sentence brought back everything. The fights, the silence, the blame, the day I walked away from our home and never really came back. I stood there on the porch, staring at the road, wondering if coming to the party was a mistake. I should have expected something. Maybe I even knew deep down she still held me responsible. But to say it like that, in the middle of a child's birthday, with a smile on her face, that was cruel. I looked back through the window. She was laughing with some friends, like nothing had happened. But I knew it had. Something had been broken again. Or maybe it was never fixed. And this was just the beginning. She lit the candles. I watched them burn. I stood in the corner, watching the party go on. Kids ran around with balloons, parents laughed, and music played in the background. But none of it felt real to me. I kept looking at my sister, trying to read her face. She looked calm, busy handing out snacks and drinks, but I knew better. That smile was the same one she wore the day of the funeral, the same smile that didn't reach her eyes. It had been 5 years since her husband died. The official report called it an accident. A fall from the second-floor balcony of their house. Slipped while fixing something, they said. But people talked, quietly of course. Neighbors, cousins, even old friends. Whispers behind closed doors. And in some of those whispers, my name came up. I never forgot the way my sister looked at me at the hospital. Cold, distant, like she was seeing a stranger. She never said it out loud that day, but weeks later, when emotions boiled over, she did. She asked me if I had something to do with it. She said it once, in anger, but once was enough. It stuck with me. We weren't close after that. The little talks we had felt forced. She never took it back, never said she was sorry for accusing me. I tried to ignore it, but it stayed in my mind like a stain that wouldn't fade. And now, being here, in her house again, surrounded by her friends and her son, I could feel it all coming back. Every time someone looked at me for too long, I wondered if they knew, or thought they knew. Were they just being polite? Or were they watching me the way you watch someone you don't trust? I couldn't tell, but I felt eyes on me. Not many, just a few glances that lasted too long. A few faces that went quiet when I passed by. Maybe it was all in my head, maybe not. My sister barely spoke to me after handing me the cake. She acted like everything was normal, but her silence spoke louder than words. I watched her hug other guests, laugh with her friends, and kiss her son on the forehead. She played the perfect host, but I knew what she thought of me. The party was supposed to be a happy day, for her son, for the family, but under the music and the noise, I could hear the unspoken things. I could feel the weight of what was never said out loud. It sat between us like a wall no one wanted to break. I stood there, alone in a room full of people, knowing I wasn't just a guest. I was a shadow from a story they never stopped telling. The party was still going on when my cousin Mark came up beside me. He didn't smile or joke like he usually did. Instead, he tapped my arm and said, "Come with me for a second." I followed him without a word, leaving the noise behind. He led me to the side of the house, near the fence where no one else was standing. His eyes kept moving, like he was making sure no one heard us. He looked at me and said, "You know, some people talk more than they should, but some stay quiet, even when they know a lot." I frowned, not sure what he meant. He leaned in a little closer. "Not everyone believes what they pretend to. They just don't say it out loud. Doesn't mean they don't talk when you're not around." I asked him to be clear, but he just gave a sad smile. "They don't forget," he said, "and they don't forgive as easy as they act." Then he walked away like nothing happened. I stood there, unsure of what to do. His words kept echoing in my head. I walked back into the house, but everything felt different. I noticed how people looked at me, a second too long, a smile that didn't reach their eyes, a sudden change in topic when I got close. I started paying attention to every small thing. I used to call this place home. Now I was a stranger with a label no one dared to say out loud. An aunt asked how I'd been. Her words were soft, but her eyes were sharp, studying my face like she was searching for something. A cousin asked me if I'd seen the old balcony lately, the same one where the accident happened. He smiled when he said it, but the words felt heavy. I forced a small laugh and walked away. Even the children seemed to sense something. They ran past me without a second glance. No hugs, no questions. I used to play with them here. I used to be part of all this. Now every word felt like a test. Every smile felt like a mask. I wasn't talking to family anymore. I was being watched, judged. They didn't push me out with hands. They did it with silence, with polite faces and hidden thoughts. I was no longer one of them. I was just a guest, walking through a home full of memories that no longer welcomed me. I went into the kitchen to get some water. I just wanted a moment alone, but she followed me. I didn't even hear her footsteps. When I turned around, she was already standing there, arms crossed, eyes cold. "You think showing up makes you part of the family again?" she asked, voice low. I didn't answer. I wasn't expecting a fight, but I knew this was coming. "You walked away when things got hard. You left me to deal with everything," she continued, stepping closer. "You think I forgot what you did?" I told her I didn't want to do this. Not here, not today. But she didn't care. Her voice grew louder. "You destroyed everything. My marriage, our home, even Mom's last days. You weren't there when she needed you." I was. I tried to explain. I tried to remind her of the times I did show up, the calls, the messages, the times I tried to help but was pushed away. But she cut me off. "You didn't help," she snapped. "You ran. Like always." The door to the kitchen was open. People could hear us. Some were pretending not to. Others stood still, listening. A few children peeked in. One of them started crying when our voices got louder. I felt like I was standing on a stage, under a bright light, with nowhere to hide. She kept going, listing everything she thought I had done wrong. How I was never there. How I never truly cared. How our mother died thinking her children hated each other. I told her that wasn't true. That Mom wanted peace, not blame, but she wouldn't listen. "She died with pain in her heart because of you," she said, tears now in her eyes. "And you show up here like nothing happened." My chest felt heavy. I wanted to leave, but my feet wouldn't move. I couldn't believe how much anger she still carried. And I realized something. She didn't want answers. She wanted someone to blame. And that someone was me. The room had become quiet. The music had stopped. The birthday joy was gone. All that was left was pain, old wounds, and broken memories. It wasn't just a kitchen anymore. It felt like a courtroom, one where I had already been found guilty, no matter what I said. And standing across from me wasn't just my sister. It was someone who had buried love and replaced it with anger. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words kept repeating in my head. Every room in that house felt like it held secrets. I needed answers, real ones. So when everyone had gone to bed, I quietly got up and left my room. The hallway was dark, and the floor creaked under my steps. I didn't care. I had to see the attic again. The stairs to the attic were still the same, dusty, narrow, and cold. I pulled the string for the light, but it didn't work. I used the flashlight on my phone. Cobwebs hung from the beams. Old boxes were stacked everywhere, some marked with names, others just numbers. I didn't know what I was looking for, only that I had to keep looking. My hands shook as I opened one box after another. Old photo album, books, clothes. Then, under a pile of blankets, I saw a small tin box I didn't recognize. I opened it, and inside was an envelope. The handwriting on it stopped my breath. It was hers, our mother's. The envelope said only 2 words, "For her." I sat down on the cold floor. My fingers trembled as I opened the letter. The paper was old, slightly yellow, but the ink was clear. I started reading. It wasn't long, but every sentence felt like a stone being dropped into my chest. She wrote about pain, about fear, about how she had kept quiet for too long, the truth she never had the courage to say out loud. She wrote about my sister's husband. She didn't name him directly, but wrote enough that I understood. The way he treated her, the way he made their home feel unsafe. She admitted she had seen it, heard it, knew about it, but she stayed silent, out of fear, out of shame. She thought it would stop. It didn't. She also wrote about me, how I had tried to speak up once, how I had wanted to protect my sister, but she had told me to stay out of it. She said it was their problem. I had stepped away because I was told to, but Mum had known the truth all along, and still, she had let me carry the blame. I finished reading and sat there, frozen. Everything I thought I knew shattered. All the guilt, all the anger, it had been passed around like a shadow. And now, I was holding the truth in my hands. A truth that no one else knew. A truth that could change everything. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding the letter in both hands. My mind was full. I read it again, slowly this time, just to be sure I hadn't misunderstood. Every word was clear. Every line was honest. And what hurt most wasn't just what Mum had hidden. It was what my sister had known all along. She wasn't blind. She wasn't fooled. She knew what kind of man her husband really was. She had seen the truth with her own eyes. Yet she never admitted it. Not to me. Not to anyone. She let everyone believe I was the problem. She let me walk away with the blame. I remembered the day I had confronted her years ago. I told her something wasn't right. I told her she didn't have to live like that, but she got angry, told me to mind my own business, said I was trying to ruin her marriage. After that, we stopped talking. The silence lasted for years. And now I knew she had chosen it. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't denial. It was a choice. She picked her anger. She picked her story. And she made me the villain in it. I don't know what hurt more, the fact that she knew, or the fact that she still looked me in the eye and spoke with such hate. At the party, she had smiled when she made that cruel joke. She laughed, knowing what she was hiding. She turned her pain into a weapon and used it against me. I used to think we grew apart because of misunderstanding. I thought maybe, deep down, she believed I meant well, but that wasn't true. She knew exactly what I had tried to do. She just didn't want me to be right. Now everything felt different. The blame, the silence, the distance. It was all built on her decision to hide the truth. She didn't just lose trust in me. She gave it away to someone who didn't deserve it, and then punished me for what he did. I looked at the letter again. I thought about burning it, but something stopped me. This wasn't just my pain anymore. It was proof. It was the truth. And for the first time in years, I wasn't confused. I was angry, not at the past, but at the lies she chose to live in. She knew. She always knew. And she still blamed me. After the party ended, I stayed for a while at her house. Everyone had gone. The laughter was gone too. Just silence. Her son sat beside me on the couch, holding a leftover piece of cake. He didn't say much at first, just stared at the candle wax that had melted onto the plate. Then he asked, "Why do people look sad when cakes are cut?" I didn't know how to answer at first. I looked at him, his small face, full of innocence. He had no idea about the things happening around him. No idea what people were hiding. No idea what I had read in that letter. He only saw smiles, hugs and gifts. But behind it all were lies. And he was growing up right in the middle of them. I wanted to protect him, but I didn't want to lie to him. I didn't want him to grow up believing the wrong things about the people around him. I couldn't tell him everything. Not yet. He was too young. But I could start something. I could start telling the truth somewhere. So that night, when I got home, I took out my phone and hit record. Not for social media. Not to show anyone now. Just for the future. For him. For me. I looked into the camera and started speaking. At first, it was hard. I didn't know how to begin. But then the words started to come. I talked about my sister, about the man she married, about the fear that filled our home back then. I spoke about how I tried to help, how I was pushed away, and how everything changed after that. I talked about the silence, the blame, the anger. I didn't say names. I didn't insult anyone. I just told the truth, the real story, not the version everyone else believed, not the one my sister told. When I finished, I saved the video and locked it. I knew one day someone would need to see it. Maybe the boy on the couch, maybe even my sister herself, maybe me. I didn't feel better, but I felt a little more in control. For once, I wasn't just reacting to what was said about me. I was telling my side, clearly, calmly, and honestly. That question, about why people look sad when cakes are cut, it stayed with me. Maybe it's because people carry things they don't say. Maybe smiles hide more than tears ever could. But now I had said what I needed to say, quietly, just like those candles. No noise, just a small, steady light in the dark. I stared at the letter for hours. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. I didn't add anything. I didn't change a word. I scanned it, opened a new email account with no name, and uploaded the letter to a public forum where stories like this often got shared. No one knew it was me. I didn't want credit. I just wanted the truth to breathe. It didn't take long. A few days later, I noticed people sharing the post. Some commented, others messaged under fake names too. They talked about how familiar the story felt, how the lies, silence, and blame reminded them of their own families. Then the phone call started. My aunt called first, asking if I had seen the post. She didn't sound angry. She sounded confused. Then cousins I hadn't spoken to in years sent long texts. Some said they always felt something was off. One even said they had seen bruises once, but were told not to ask questions. Slowly, things began to fall apart for my sister. She tried to defend herself, but the letter was in our mother's handwriting. It couldn't be denied. Her version of the story stopped making sense. People asked hard questions, and for the first time, they didn't just accept her answers. Then came the visit from social services. I didn't know about it until later. Someone had reported concerns after reading the letter. A hearing was held. Her son was taken into temporary custody, not forever, just until things could be looked into properly. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel like I'd won. It wasn't revenge. It was just something that needed to happen. She had hidden behind a false image for too long, pretending to be the one hurt, while pointing fingers at me, at others, and never at herself. People always say truth comes out eventually. I don't know if that's always true, but this time it did. And it didn't come out in a loud explosion. It came quietly, through a letter written long ago, and words shared without a name. She had fooled many people for years, even fooled herself. But truth doesn't need a face. It only needs time. And once it's out, it moves fast. I didn't expect anything to change, but everything did. And now, for the first time in a long time, people were finally asking the right questions. They called me one morning. A quiet voice on the other end said, "We need to talk about the boy." My heart dropped. I knew what this was about. The case was moving fast, and they needed a decision. His mother's situation was still under review, and no one knew how long it would last. Until then, the child had to stay somewhere safe. They asked me if I would take him. I sat in silence. It wasn't a question I expected. I had done what I felt was right. I had spoken the truth, shared what needed to be seen. But I never thought it would lead to this. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't a parent. I wasn't planning to become one. But I also wasn't a stranger to him. He was innocent. He didn't ask for any of this. He didn't start the fights. He didn't write the lies. He didn't break anyone. He just lived through it, silently, without knowing what was happening around him. I thought about saying no. I thought about letting the system take care of him. They had professionals, rules, support. I was just someone trying to make peace with the past. I didn't want revenge to turn into a new responsibility. But then I thought of his face. The quiet boy who asked questions about candles and sadness. The boy who looked up at me, not with fear, but with trust. I went to visit him. He was staying in a small home with kind people. When he saw me, he smiled. Not a big smile, just a small one, but it was real. We sat together, and he asked if I was going to leave again. That word, again, it stayed in my mind. I had already left once. I had walked away from the family when it got too heavy. Maybe now was my chance to stop walking away. Later that evening, I called them back. I said yes. It wasn't easy. It still isn't. There are rules, meetings, paperwork, but there's also a boy who sleeps safely now. A boy who doesn't hear shouting anymore. A boy who slowly, quietly, is learning that truth doesn't always hurt. It can heal too. I didn't take him in to prove anything. I did it because sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that feel the most right. Forgiveness isn't easy, and it's never free. But some things, they're worth the cost. 1 year later, the same day returned, another birthday. But this time, it felt different. There was no party noise, no fake smiles, no cold words hidden behind a joke. Just me and him, in a quiet kitchen, making a simple cake together. He stood on a stool, mixing the batter with care. I helped him crack the eggs, clean the mess, and taste the sweet icing. His laughter was soft but real. He didn't ask about the past. He didn't talk about his mother. He just focused on the cake. We didn't need decorations. We didn't need many people. It was just us, and that was enough. When the cake was ready, we placed one candle in the center. He lit it himself. Then he looked at me and smiled. We didn't sing. We didn't make a big wish. We just stood there, watching the flame. It wasn't about the birthday. It was about everything that led us here. The pain, the truth, the choice I made. It was all in that small moment of silence. Later, I noticed her outside. She was standing at a distance across the street. Her face was pale, her eyes tired. She didn't come close. She didn't say a word. She just watched. Maybe she remembered last year. Maybe she saw what she lost. But I didn't feel hate. I felt nothing, just peace. The cake wasn't fancy. It didn't need to be. It was warm, soft, and honest. It didn't carry any blame. It didn't carry any lies. It was for him. A new start. A small one, but real. The cycle didn't break by force. It ended quietly, with a candle and a choice. And that was enough. Do you think I made the right choice by taking the boy and walking away from my family? Or should I have given my sister another chance? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. And if you like stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one.